Hi.
Hello.
So, welcome to the very first Magnetic Field podcast with Dan.
And Natalia.
So, what are we doing here?
That's a great question. What are we doing here?
You tell me this is your crazy idea.
This is my crazy idea. Well, we wanted to, I guess, share with the world just part of our experiences that we've had in the last 14, 15-ish years.
Yeah. So we have a lot of conversations at home, obviously, especially in the kitchen. We get to having late night conversations, and we are big proponents of having tough conversations and real conversations and deep conversations. Mm-hmm. And with our personalities, as many of you know, neither of us are the type of people to just do small talk.
Nope.
So we like to go subsurface
Deep,
level
real quick.
as fast as possible and just forego all the BS. So, yeah, that's kind of why we're here. We have a lot of topics we talk about just at home, and we process a lot, whether it's the books we're reading, whether it's the movies we're watching, conversations at home as parents with kids. And so we want to share some of that with you, as well as us to process as well. And maybe you guys might get something out of this. So,
Yeah. That's good.
So yeah, it was your idea. So what's the inspiration for wanting to start a podcast?
So I listen to lots of different podcasts, and I was on a long walk in our neighborhood, maybe like last month. And this person I was listening to talked about the importance of, communication and sharing, if you can, what could potentially be an encouragement to others. And so I jokingly texted you and said, on my walk, we need to start a podcast. We talk about so much, important things and fun things and different things and hard things and deep stuff. And what if we just kind of shared it with our friends, but in a joking manner? Mm-hmm. And then you responded back and you were like, I don't remember what you said.
Because why not? Or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. But then I was like, it was just a funny joke, whatever, and didn't think anything of it.
Or I think I was a little more, maybe a little more humble. I think I was more like, I'm not adverse to the idea. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, something like that.
This sounds kind of wild. Like, it hit me in left field.
Yeah. And then here we are. We are.
So yeah, the first one. I guess we'll go and get started. So we want this to be just a free-flowing conversation that you guys can join us in on. But we do kind of want to have a couple of things you want to hit as we go, so we don't waste your time.
Yep.
And our goal is to try to keep this between like 30 and 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And so one of the things we want to talk about is, hey, it's Easter, right? So Easter weekend. Mm-hmm. What do we do this weekend? What things do we get to do with the kids?
Man, we had a full weekend. We you took off the whole weekend, which that's unheard of.
Rare. And amazing.
Uncle Sam allowed you to be with us the whole weekend, so that was fun. That's been fun. But we did church on Easter Sunday. We did sunrise-ish service. And I say ish because it was after the sun had already risen. But it was still earlier than usual. So we did that and then kind of just hung out at home Sunday after church, relaxed. And then Monday we did the big annual White House egg roll event.
Easter egg roll. That's right. Yeah.
So that was really fun. The kids had a blast. It was I'm trying to think. The perfect way to explain it is it was a chaotic, fun-filled event. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of people, but a lot of fun stuff. Mm-hmm. They really treat you well if you get to go.
Yeah, so for people who don't know what the White House Easter egg roll is was it like Taft? I can't remember who officially started. I got to review my history.
Yeah, if you don't know, then
it's been around obviously for decades. But essentially, the first family on Easter will open up essentially their backyard, the the south grounds of the White House, where Marine One lands, and will allow the general public.
Yep.
One of the few times out of the year, the general public is allowed on White House grounds inside the fence to, bring their kids. It's all oriented towards the kids. In fact, to my knowledge, you can't go unless you have a kid with you. So at the Easter egg roast, you got a wooden spoon and you roll a little hard-boiled egg down, a chunk of grass. There's like pictures of Easter bunnies. There's like flowers. They got
treats,
snacks, and it's all free.
It's all free.
For people who don't work in that specific job, there's lottery tickets available for free online that people can go and reserve and attempt to get tickets. And so tons of general public are there. And I think they were estimated like 40,000
something crazy like that. Yeah.
And so it comes in waves. Like we ended up finding ourselves in the D group. And so it's towards the afternoon. And so the president and First Lady had come out earlier, like around
the morning.
10:30 or something like that. Come out at the balcony, do the wave, come out, and I think he was cuddling with the kids and kind of mingling with the crowd a little bit, and then they go do their thing for us today. But it's an opportunity for people to sort of see the White House up close, and then just kind of, I guess, be celebrated and celebrate Easter, on like a free fun day. And even like the treats, the snacks were all free.
Yep.
Which is really cool.
And they were giving out a lot of water, which that was really helpful because it was a hotter day than we've had in the past 4 or 5 months, I feel like.
And then, of course, you get the at the end of the event, each kid gets the coveted,
painted
wooden egg, that has the presidential signature and First Lady's signature on the back.
Yep.
Which is cool.
Yeah, it's neat.
So the kids get that. Yeah, it was a good day. Long, out in the sun and everything, but it was chaos.
Yeah, fun chaos.
Yeah, tons and tons of people.
It was like a 6-hour, 7-hour day.
It ended up being
between drive and getting there, finding parking, all of that.
It ended up being about 6-7 hours for us.
Yeah.
But the kids had a blast.
Oh yeah.
Liberty told me a couple times, like, "Daddy, thanks so much for bringing us."
Yeah, it was so fun.
It's
Thanks for doing that for us.
Yeah,
that was fun.
It's cool. I've never done it before, obviously.
Right.
So we did that. So what I'm curious to know, and I'm sure our viewers are curious to know, what Easter traditions you had from your family origin growing up, being that you grew up in Brazil, different culture than me.
So in Brazil, we do this ovo de Páscoa, which is Easter egg translated. And it's just this huge, there's different sizes, but it's, just a chocolate egg, wrapped in this fancy foil wrapping. And there's, an array of variety of different chocolates. And so that's what we grew up getting from my aunt every year, Tia Cló. And so she always did like this put on this Easter thing. A few times she had, Easter bunny out there. But that's kind of how we grew up, obviously going to church. But it's funny because it's different here, the Easter dresses and like the Easter egg hunt. It's, a big thing here, which I didn't really grow up with that.
Yeah.
I mean, people dress up to go to church, but there wasn't like an Easter dress, Easter attire, the pastel colors. Like it's not, at least what I remember growing up back then. Maybe now it's different, but when I was a child there, that's not, you just dress really nicely, and that's kind of it. But you dress nicely to go to church every time, so.
Yeah. So what is this egg that you said you have? It's a chocolate egg. What's it called?
Yeah. Ovo de Páscoa.
Okay. And then how do
Easter egg.
Yeah, that's right. And so how do you say Happy Easter in Portuguese?
Feliz Páscoa.
Feliz Páscoa. See,
Happy Easter. Yeah.
See, you guys learned something.
Learning Portuguese. Have Portuguese lessons.
Yeah. Very cool.
What was your traditions?
Yeah. So our traditions. So like mom would usually do Easter egg hunt for me and my brother in the backyard, and so she would put together eggs, and for us it'd be the typical like plastic eggs with the hinge, and it'd be just little small chocolates in there, and then she would sometimes have there'd be like 1 or 2, maybe 3 eggs. It'd have like a dollar bill or like a $5 bill would be like the big prize, when you're a kid. And she'd hide them all over the backyard, and then of course when she was ready, she would let you know, and you go out there and you run around and try to find the eggs.
Sure.
With your basket, whatever. And of course, Easter sunrise service was big for us. We would try to go to that. Growing up Baptist and Presbyterian, so like we would we try to go to like the earlier service, actual
the
sunrise
6
service,
a.m.
like 6 a.m.
Yeah.
And so that was special memories, I think, as a kid doing that and marking that event and marking Easter.
Yeah.
And the what that represents for us as Christians. So that was cool. As far as other traditions, there'd probably like a nice lunch at home, I think is what I remember, but
is there like a traditional meal or food that you had?
No, which is interesting because I think you told me that you guys would do like fish, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So,
that's what I remember growing up. We would have, which, that's, for Lent and all of that. I know that obviously in Brazil, Catholicism being the biggest one. That's not how I grew up.
Sure. Yeah.
But I just remember culturally wise, the collective culture, that was just like what we did for Easter. But also like my grandparents ate fish, many times during the week. And so it also wasn't just out of the ordinary. So I think it was just, it's Easter, it's special. But yeah, so that was kind of, our tradition there. But then we've started doing our own traditions, kind of incorporate with the kids, kind of incorporating, is that a word?
Yeah.
Incorporating.
Yeah, blending both cultures.
Blending, yes, thank you. And so it's been sweet to kind of, do something special for them. And we got passed down what your mom did with you and your brother, which was an Easter, the real Easter story for us believers, and, putting that pieces of, the
small
Easter
symbols.
Story and
there's
plastic
lamb,
eggs.
There's like a little goblet of wine, some bread.
Yep. Which I started doing that this year as a school curriculum with the kids, and so we now have our own set. But then we inherited that set that belonged to you and your brothers, and so it was fun for the kids to do theirs, and then also get to do the ones that was y'all's, and get to see this little coins or like nails, that are, older than daddy, so that was fun. That was fun doing that with them. So that's all put away.
Yeah.
And ready for next year.
Yeah. It's funny when you said about the Easter dresses too, just talking about different cultures. And that's kind of where, the name of the podcast comes from is magnetic, the fact that opposites attract, as we certainly did. And we come from different.
We're opposites for sure.
different cultures, different backgrounds, different personalities, different families of origin, all that.
Yep.
But even just like the Easter dresses kind of being like an American kind of thing, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
It's like I typically just remember or understand that like typically women and girls, like there's always like there's an Easter dress specifically for Easter Sunday. And it's not that you don't wear it any other year, any other time of the year. It's just that, like sometimes you would get one for like just Easter. And like I think mom told me too, like growing up that like my grandmother would make them Easter dresses. And that was just a huge deal. But it's interesting that like with you guys, like that wasn't necessarily you dress nice, like a lot of us would go to church on Sunday, but like it wasn't.
I think over there for us, it was more like Christmas is when we got like, Christmas attire. And obviously like you wore that, throughout the year too. Yeah. But as I remember, and, I may be wrong, obviously when we migrated, I was, 12. And so, or 11, almost 12. And so as far as I remember, we probably did get, a nicer attire for Easter, but the biggest attire was really for Christmas.
Okay.
So, which is interesting. Cool. Yeah. But it's not like, even for Easter, like it wasn't like the floral, the, pastel colors and all of that. Like that's not really, that wasn't really, as far as I remember, I think.
Yeah.
I might be all wrong, and people might, get pictures and show all these pastel and floral colors in the, 80s and 90s, but that's okay.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of funny, like when you're a parent to kids, like sometimes you forget what you were like when that age, or like it blends together, like your timeline, and you're like.
Well, and if like there was, if there was any type of, life events or, good or, difficult challenges, sometimes that stuff gets, blurred, and those memories kind of get either stored away or kind of, there's some type of, mental block and stuff. So it's hard to like try to pull those memories back.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. Like, I don't remember being 6. Do you?
I would think about it. It's like that silly question. It's like, what's your earliest memory? I'm like, oh, being born. I don't know.
Absolutely not.
No, I don't remember that. That'd be wild. That'd be weird.
Yeah.
No, but like, I don't, like, I have a hard time putting a finger on like what my earliest memory is.
Sure.
And like, there's times where I think of something and I'm like, man, that was fairly early, but like, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
But thinking about Easter though, it is interesting because even just tonight, putting Liberty to sleep, I was thinking about like the representation of Easter, and it's like I was singing tonight, like Liberty like grieves the dying of every day.
She is your daughter.
She is. I'm a night owl, and I don't like to shut the party down.
Neither does she.
But it's like
it's
what you told her though, which was tomorrow's another day.
Mm-hmm. And what was her follow-up question? What are we doing tomorrow? Mm-hmm.
It's good.
And there's a routine, like usually every day, like, we have a routine here, but she's very much like you to where she doesn't like turning it off. And then she's already like looking ahead, like, not as a
little future minded.
Yeah. And her creativity side too, like she wants to prepare, like, what can I get ready like for the day? I see a lot of that coming out of her, especially lately, especially in the last year, like, as she's, obviously developing more like creative side and stuff like that. So it's been interesting to kind of try to gear her to like, let's just think. And I've used that before. I'm like, I'm still thinking about today. I'm still thinking about, the day ending and all of that, where she's like, what's going to happen tomorrow?
But it made me think about, the message of Easter, like what it means is like the death and resurrection. And like, that's the hope, right? Is like the death of every day. Like for her, it's like, I don't want dinner to end because dinner means it's bath time and bedtime. And that means like the day is over. And like, she hates that feeling. And there's times where like with me, I'm like, oh man, like I gotta go to work tomorrow, or like the day is gone. Where'd the day go? But it's like you said, like that's the hope, right? That's the eternity is like, tomorrow's another day, right? That's the hope. It's like, we're gonna wake up tomorrow and there's gonna be something new there. Like, so we don't have to like be too concerned about, the day being over. Yeah. And like, you can rest in that. Like you can go to sleep and realize that like, I'm gonna wake up to something new tomorrow. So I don't know. I thought that was cool that you said that tonight. And so then we went and saw this movie, King of Kings, right? Yeah. A lot of our friends were talking about. It took the kids and I think they enjoyed it.
They did.
I might have,
there was
something was in my eye a couple times watching that movie.
There were a few little eye scratches and, cleaning a few, tears that rolled. Yeah. But yeah, they had a blast. They really enjoyed it. I mean, Liberty was on the edge of her seat a few times, which was interesting and fun to see because she was so engaged. Yeah. We got there a little bit late, so we just caught like the Charles Dickens opening at the beginning. Yep. And actually I didn't catch the whole movie until the end when like it said like Charles Dickens played by or something. I was like, what? That was Charles Dickens? So I guess like the premise was kind of loosely based around like he wrote this book for his kids. So then he was telling it to his kids through like a child's eyes kind of. To his youngest kid.
Yeah. And so for me, that's what I got the most out of it was I'd never really like seen or really tried to maybe understand maybe the gospel from like a kid's eyes or kid's perspective. And so that's what hit me the hardest, because I've got kids, right? I've got, 6-year-old and 3-year-old. And their innocence and like, just like with Liberty, like their joy, or even Victor, just like how wide their view of the world is and their curiosity. And just seeing like the kid on screen as what's neat is the movie puts the kid in the Bible stories. And so like, there he is like with the disciples, like there he is like, at the cross, there is at the tomb, there he is like, Jesus feeds the 5,000, like he's there and like you're kind of experiencing it like from the viewpoint of a child. And so it makes it I don't know, more humble, more relatable, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, I think my favorite part of the movie as a whole was exactly that, like the kid not only engaging with his dad, and sorry if there any of this is spoiler alert for anybody that hasn't watched it, but like he was in it, and I feel like sometimes when like we read to the kids, or Liberty is just now starting to like learn how to read and all of that, and so when she grasps a story, like she really puts herself in it, so that's fun to see. But that was my favorite part about how they made the movie, was really, I think they focused a lot on how the audience, as in the kids in the audience, would relate to this little kid, right?
Yeah.
And so, just to kind of, mirror what you said or repeat what you said, is that like just seeing the gospel story through, a kid's eyes.
Just a childlike faith thing.
Yes.
And it's very age appropriate, which is it's, you're not like watching the Passion of the Christ with your 6-year-old here.
No,
Like it's
absolutely not.
You don't see his face at certain times, like you see his back at certain times, but like, okay, he's getting whipped. I can maybe understand that, but I don't really see or really gather what's happening here. But if you're an adult, you're like, oh, that's what's happening. So, it's done well with that. Yeah, it was good. It was.
And the details too, like even like from like, just a lot of like the cat was really interesting because that's just like reality, real life, and then like they also put the cat in in the story, so that was interesting to see like how they really blended well the story of like it being told and the story itself,
which is literally how a kid's imagination is, right? Like they've got their dog, they've got their cat, and they're like, well, it could exist in this time, right? Like they're projecting that onto these stories.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah, it was good.